In a time where technology is seemingly necessary to function, it's no surprise that Hollywood blockbuster films are featuring more futuristic gadgets that dazzle the masses with CGI graphics and situations that invoke feelings of uncertainty as to the future of the human race. Films like Ex Machina or The Avengers Age of Ultron are visually mind-blowing and provide a glimpse into what could soon be a reality. However futuristic these movies may seem, the concept of robotics is nothing new to the entertainment industry. They were first seen as a product of the Second Industrial Revolution in novels such as The Steam Man of the Prairies in 1868, which took its influence from the advancement of the railroad. The narrative of books and movies involving robots has evolved rather drastically over the last 148 years, and each evolution tends to mirror the political environment of the time. They have appealed to the wonder, fear, hope, and compassion of those who could only dream of a future that progressed the world's civilization into either a utopian paradise or an apocalyptic tragedy. In the beginning, robot films and books seemed to have developed to imitate real inventions and situations, such as steam-powered robots in an expansion across the United States. But as time went on, the real-world situations have been influenced or caused by the technology in films, which presents a question similar to the chicken or the egg. Does film imitate life, or is life imitating film? To demonstrate the link between robots and entertainment and real-world relevancy, we'll briefly explore the films Metropolis, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Blade Runner, 2001: A Space Odyssey, The Terminator, Bicentennial Man, Artificial Intelligence, AI, and Her. The first robot movie, Metropolis, debuted in 1927, was a German expressionistic epic science fiction drama directed by Fritz Lang. It was set in the year 2027 and featured a robot, or machine human, that was designed to resurrect a loved one that had died. The hope was that the robot could use its powers to unite the workers and ruling class together and end the struggle they had endured. The film was written in post-World War I Germany, a nation that has saw a great deal of death and destruction. The Weimar period from 1919 to 1933 was a turbulent time in Germany. Hyperinflation, political extremism, and difficulties cooperating with World War I victors left Germans with a sense of hopelessness. They projected their feelings through Metropolis as a way to inspire hope in the people. To continue the trend of post-war influences, the film The Day the Earth Stood Still in 1951 followed the end of World War II and the beginning of the Korean War. Although the featured character was an alien, Klaatu, sent to Earth to save humans from themselves, the robot, Gort, a protector of the alien ambassador, was very different from Metropolis in its demeanor. Although Gort was essentially a tool, he was also a weapon that could harm humans if provoked. He provided security for the outsider, who was already met with apprehension and was largely passive, but the potential for that to change was always present. To put it in context at the time, America was in the early stages of the Cold War with the communist state of Russia. Little was known of the new enemy, other than communism was bad and we shouldn't like them. Technology had taken a giant leap forward in weaponry that included the introduction of the atomic bomb. The biggest fear was being outgunned by the unknown bad guys of the Red Army. Gort represents the uncertainty Americans felt as they entered another tense standoff against a people and an idea that would cause angst for nearly 50 years. Fast forward to 1968 and the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. The space computer HAL 9000 is an artificially intelligent machine that utters the famous line, "I'm sorry, Dave, but I'm afraid I can't do that." It is the first real semblance of a sentient robot that averts human direction. It's a time of space exploration and arms races. The computer has been realized, though it's the size of a small house. Although the relevant technology exists in the late 60s, the film is the follower rather than the prophetic influence, but this won't be for long.
You read me, Hal? You read me, Hal? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Hello, Hal, do you read me? Do you read me, Hal?
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
Hal? 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 Hal?
During the 70s and 80s, science fiction seemed to ramp up the creative juices that would inspire replication in the real world. Rather than political situations dictating sci-fi plots, science fiction began influencing the real world. Movies and TV series such as Star Trek and Blade Runner would exhibit creations far beyond what was capable of technology at the time. Communicators, inspired cell phones, and androids such as Roy started a new era in robot film. Roy was an android with an expiration date. The dire nature of human existence on Earth was primarily the product of human greed and violence, nothing more than a crappy time for humanity. But that's where the quasi-peaceful relationship will end, at least for a while. In 1984, the world was introduced to the Terminator, a T-800 android killing machine that was sent back in time to eliminate the one leader preventing the complete annihilation of the human race. Robots were becoming scary. Their intentions were to destroy the human race. Why the pessimistic outlook? I bet you never guessed the Russians might have something to do with it. A year prior to Arnold informing everyone that he'd be back, President Ronald Reagan initiated the Strategic Defense Initiative, commonly known as Star Wars. It was established to develop highly technical anti-ballistic missile defense systems and other cool wizardry to gain the upper hand in the event someone started a nuclear war. The outlook of a grim future for humanity in the Terminator was right on par with the real world. The Terminator series expanded and continued to dazzle audiences with technological wonders and action-packed ass-kicking. They were influenced by an uncertain world and conditioned millions of viewers to fear the possibility of artificially intelligent robots with world domination in mind. But in 1991, the Berlin Wall fell and the Cold War came to an end. With it came an era filled with hope for a peaceful future. Sci-fi films featuring robots also shifted their focus from death and destruction to ethics and morality of sentient androids. Films such as Bicentennial Man, AI, and Her were more focused on the humanity of robots rather than how many people they could kill. While violence was still present, it was typically directed by leery humans towards their robotic counterparts. Questions of legality and sentience fueled the debate of what makes a human being a human. Still reeling from the fears stimulated by Terminator-type movies, humans, both in character and in real life, were apprehensive of the dawning of the fourth industrial revolution of technology.
Hello. Oh. Are you one's family?
I guess so.
Storylines became thought-provoking and emotionally challenging rather than action-packed. AI made audiences feel heartbroken when David, a robot built to love, was abandoned by his parents. They longed to love him the way that he wished to be loved by his own parents. It was no different than if he were a real human. Or in the movie Her, where legitimate love is formed between a man and an operating system. It's a connection so deep that it makes you question what true love really is. Robots connected to viewers on an emotional level because they appeared more human and less droid-like. They began to count as humans. Why wouldn't we grow fond of robots like Andrew from Bicentennial Man? After all, when HAL 9000 was merely a box-like rogue computer system in outer space, the technology of the time was far from capable of realizing systems with its capabilities. But in the early 2000s, artificially intelligent robots seemed a lot more conceivable. The movies became less dependent on an error in programming and more about the malicious aspirations of nefarious businessmen and governments. The human factor would inspire fear of the human programmer rather than the prospect of the indiscriminate killer robot. Regardless of the direction the science behind artificial intelligence leads us, it is clear that we'll be venturing into uncharted territory policy-wise. Whereas films in the 20th century followed the real events and technology, it is entirely possible the opposite will occur in the 21st. Best methods of establishing policies will most probably be from input by experts and science fiction films. Potential problems with AI integration and handling within movies are a good indicator of what governments could expect in the future. It's not a bad thing to have a rational fear of an AI takeover and a working knowledge of the ethical, moral, and legal situations that could present themselves. All these scenarios have played out on the big screen for the past century nearly. So the next sci-fi movie you go see may actually be preparing you to be better equipped to handle the future of humanity. Or will it?
One day the AIs will look back on us, upright apes, all set for extinction.